I wrote the first draft for my manuscript over the past 15 weeks. This was supposed to happen in 12 weeks, but when I decided to make that goal, I forgot that I was going to be traveling for 3 weeks straight. And while I do think I could have written during that time, and I don't want to use it as an excuse, I also knew that during that time I was going to be around family and friends that I don't get to see that often, so if I really wanted to be present there, I would need to put writing on hold for a little bit. I really struggled with feeling like I wasn't being disciplined, especially after I made a video a while back, like saying that I wanted to do those 12 weeks. But overall, I ended up feeling like I made the right choice there. But that did mean I was really under the wire if I wanted to finish a manuscript before the new year. And I definitely wanted it done by that deadline. So I ended up writing 40,000 words in 2 weeks. I'm fine. Everything is fine. Anyway, I made a video a little while back about techniques that I found that helped me write faster. And while I did use those, I did find a few more things that I think really helped me. So I could push through those last chapters even though we were coming up on the holidays and I was running solely on sugar and Christmas cookies. One of those things that really helped is honestly forcing the process. I was lucky that I could take a full week off of work between Christmas and New Year's. And for a few of those days, I sat at my desk and promised myself that I was gonna get 6,000 words that day no matter what happened. The first day, that took 8 hours, so I was at my desk from 9 to 5. But the second day, I wrote the exact same amount in just 4 hours, and I really think it's because I banned myself from TikTok momentarily, and because I had a timer going, even when I took a few minutes break. So even when I was on a break, I could sort of feel that pressure in the background and I could see it on my screen. This isn't gonna work for everyone. I know a lot of writers don't like to feel rushed, but for me, I felt like I really needed that type of pressure because I'm gonna be honest with you, waiting for the muse, it just doesn't work for me. I know a lot of people need to feel like they're in the writing mood, but as someone who loves to write, for whatever reason, that doesn't always hit very often. And over time, I feel like I've started to view writing sort of like working out. You don't really want to go to the gym, but you do feel 10 times better when you're done. So for me, I found that forcing the process sort of means like not waiting for some moment of inspiration, but seeing writing sort of like a discipline type of thing. So if you're like me and you love writing, but you also don't really feel in the writing mood all that often, and you don't find yourself just dying to sit down and write every day, it might be helpful towards your progress to view it like working out. So, final tally after 15 weeks was 70,600 words, which is about 260-ish pages typed. That's a lot. Not quite as much as I was hoping to get done, but I'm gonna give it a few weeks to marinate before I go back in for a second pass. I already know that there's another character who I want to give a POV in the story, and so I'm hoping that will bring the length up to more of your late YA, new adult length. If you've seen any previous videos where I've talked about this project, you know that this story follows Marley, a tattoo apprentice whose grandfather has left her magical powers. They're in a hidden lockbox, and when she can't find the key, she has to hire a lockpick to help her out. His name is Eli, and when he successfully picks the lock, he accidentally absorbs the magic powers for himself. They end up finding a transfer spell that allows them to move the powers back and forth, which is when Marley accidentally starts doing tattoos that randomly grant people's wishes, and Eli figures out he might be able to save his younger sister's life from a life-threatening illness. The only problem is that the transfer can't last forever. The powers, I'm sort of picturing them like its own little entity, and it can't take the transfer for very long, so eventually they're going to have to pick one person to keep the powers, and even though Marley thinks they're rightfully hers, Eli could take off at any moment, and so I sort of enjoy that tension between them, alongside being love interests. And on top of that, there's a sort of magical mafia, I don't know what I want to call them quite yet, that knows there is one of these magical powers out there that has not been paid in full. When Marley's grandfather passed, he left the powers to Marley, but he had not paid them off to some of the higher-ups, which means Marley and Eli end up in a confused magical scuffle between them and these people who think they control all of the magic powers. That's the part that I want to flesh out more, because right now I don't have a lot from the perspective of the magical mafia. I promise I'm gonna find a better name for that. Since they control the magic and they sort of control the flow of powers and who has what and how long it's been paid off for and stuff like that, on top of going and collecting debt from the sorcerers who haven't paid, I want to write more of that in the next draft because I think it would be fun to sort of explore the dark side of magic. What happens when people use dark magic and spells that sort of call for a more nefarious trade-off, and I have the perfect character in mind. That's a long synopsis, but that's where we are right now. Like I said, I'm planning to take a couple weeks off from this just to let the story sit for a minute and come back with a fresher brain. But if you are writing your own story and you're in the editing phase, that is where I am headed, so I will be there with you. I'll try my best to share any editing tips that I come along that seem helpful, and if you have any for me, I would love to hear them in the comments. I'm the type of person who finds it easier to get through a first draft as opposed to going and editing and going back to fix things. So any hacks for the next part of this process are greatly appreciated. I'm super excited to eventually one day have a final product with this story, and I really appreciate you being here and following along because ultimately my end goal is to actually publish the story and share it with you. So please like this video if you liked it, click subscribe if you want to talk about more book stuff. My name's Katelyn, thanks for watching. Bye!